In World War II, high above Japan, B-29 bombers flew hard missions with a critical goal: attacking Japan's oil installations. These raids were not just about destroying infrastructure, they aimed to bring down Japan's ability to fuel its war machine. Each mission was a strategic move in the Allied effort to shift the balance of power in the Pacific theater. The B-29 Superfortress was one of the most technologically advanced bombers used in World War II. Manufactured by Boeing, some technological innovations were introduced in this aircraft, including pressurized cabins that provided the ability for high-altitude flying without exposing the members of the crew to adverse conditions outside their craft. Remote-controlled gun turrets provided the defensive capacity, with a number of machine guns being operated by gunners from inside the plane. With a long range and high payload, the B-29 could fly missions over 3,000 miles and carry up to 20,000 pounds of bombs. The B-29s were primarily used within the Pacific theater to execute very long-range bombing raids against Japanese cities, industrial complexes, and military installations. One of the important components of this campaign was the targeting of Japan's oil-producing and storage facilities. Several phases can be noted in the strategic bombing campaign. The first B-29s had declined to the China-Burma-India theater early in the year 1944 and began raids against Japanese targets in Southeast Asia and along the Chinese coast. Still, because of logistical problems and the small scale of these early operations, their effect was relatively small. The capture of the Mariana Islands, Saipan, Tinian, and Guam by the Allies in the middle of 1944 was one of the major watersheds. These islands provided bases that brought Japan's home islands within the range of the B-29 bombers. The Marianas would now provide a launch pad from which to execute far more sustained and telling bombing campaigns against Japan. Such facilities were targeted to deny Japan the fuel needed for its Navy, Air Force, and ground operations. Oil refineries located in Yokkaichi, Utsubo, and Kawasaki, and oil storage facilities located around Japan were among the key targets. The missions were very intricate, requiring navigation and bombing accuracy. Early attacks were made from high altitude, but the shift went against hard precision. Now we will go into the detailed explanation. Before World War II, Japan relied on imported oil, mostly from the US. The Pearl Harbor attack was likely fueled by this oil. The 21st Strategic Bombing Campaign initially targeted aircraft, ordnance, and shipbuilding, with oil refineries and storage facilities being fourth. In April 1945, U.S. intelligence found Japan's oil industry in critical condition and redirected the 21st Bomber Command to focus on bombing these facilities. The 315th Bomb Wing, using new B-29B bombers with advanced APQ-7 Eagle radar, conducted night raids to destroy Japan's oil production and storage, aiming to weaken Japan's war effort. The Eagle radar was tested on a B-24 bomber, with the radar vane being 16 feet 5 inches long and weighing 1,100 pounds. It was later installed on B-29 bombers for high-altitude bombing, assuming Japanese interceptors couldn't reach 35,000 feet except from the rear. Because most attacks, 60%, came from the rear at night, the B-29B models only had a tail turret for defense. This meant daytime bombing without additional gun turrets was risky, so the 315th Bomb Wing conducted night attacks at medium altitudes below 15,000 feet, using the APQ-7 radar for precise targeting. With Japan's oil situation critical and no oil shipments coming from the south, these raids focused on home island oil installations. The APQ-7 radar was designed for blind bombing, projecting a 120-degree forward beam and offering 10 times the resolution of the older APQ-13 radar used on standard World War II B-29 bombers. This made night bombing more accurate, with 30% of bombs landing within 2,000 feet of the target compared to 18% with the APQ-13. This accuracy was about 75% of daylight bombing precision. The APQ-7 also allowed bombardiers to start their bomb runs from 70 miles away, more than twice the distance compared to older radar units, making it easier to find and hit targets. A July 7, 1945 report from the 21st Bomber Command discusses the 315th Bomb Wing's first mission on June 26 and 27, 1945. Removing the turrets reduced weight and drag, increasing speed. The B-29B models had fuel-injected engines, pneumatic bomb bay doors, gloss black painted bellies, and APG-15 tail-tracking radar. The anti-oil campaign included 15 missions with data on mission dates, targets, bomb weights, altitudes, and fuel reserves. Most missions used the Mark 64 500-pound general-purpose bombs, with B-29's carrying 29 to 40 bombs each. The changes made these missions more efficient and effective. The characteristics of U.S. general-purpose demolition bombs include the Mark 64 bomb, which weighs between 510 and 544 pounds, with 50% of its weight from explosive fill and 50% from the steel casing, fins, and fuses. A 500-pound bomb can cause significant damage to brick buildings. For the gasoline alley missions, the bombs had a small time delay fuse to penetrate structures before detonating. The Mark 64 bomb creates a crater 32 feet wide and 9 feet deep with a 0.01 second fuse delay. The Ube coal-to-fuel plant produced 700 barrels of gasoline, light oils, and fuel oils daily. It was targeted in 4 bombing raids, releasing 6,299 Mark 64 500-pound bombs with time delay fuses. 1,309 bombs hit the plant, causing 70% damage. Each bomb strike is shown on a map with dots representing hits. The effectiveness of the 15 gasoline alley bombing missions is shown in a chart of Japanese crude oil imports and production from 1931 to mid-1945. The raids occurred during a time of declining oil supplies due to U.S. embargoes and submarine attacks, further contributing to Japan's fuel shortages. The raids also destroyed 7.6 million barrels worth of mostly empty storage tanks. In 15 missions, the 315th Wing targeted major Japanese oil industries, rendering 9 refineries inoperative and destroying 6 million barrels of storage capacity. The cost was 3 planes lost, 66 damaged, and 30 crew member casualties. A December 1946 U.S. Strategic Bombing Survey report indicated that by June 1945, Japanese crude oil inventories were already depleted and refineries were shut down. Only a small amount of oil was destroyed in the 15 bombing raids. The 15 bombing raids on Japan's oil installations and storage had little impact on weakening the enemy. The raids occurred when oil production had already halted and remaining stocks were insignificant. Storage tanks were mostly empty and refineries operated at only 4% capacity. According to a 1946 document, these efforts significantly disrupted Japan's economy and production of war materials, ultimately dashing hopes of victory. The B-29B bombers of the 315th Wing were effective for precision nighttime bombing, but the actual results were less impactful because of Japan's depleted oil resources and disrupted supply lines. The B-29 raids on Japan's oil installations were more than just strategic strikes. They were reasons for weakening Japan's wartime capabilities. By targeting these sensitive resources, the Allies dealt a significant blow to Japan's ability to sustain its military operations, ultimately contributing to the Allied victory in the Pacific.